What's up, everybody? Thralls Mellow here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have an album review for you, and one that we have been eagerly waiting to go over just because I never know what I'm going to get with this band, and that's part of the allure. And yeah, well, I mean, we're going over the Melvins. That's pretty much it. Tarantula Heart, this is their new album, came out on the 19th of April on Ipecac Recordings. It's been formed in 1983 in Washington. This is their possibly 30th album. I don't know. Like, I know it's over 20. It is definitely over 20. I tried counting multiple times. I might have landed on 30, like 4 times out of 6.
Math is hard.
Math is hard.
Once you run out of fingers and toes, you know, the 4, 5, 6,
I count balls, nostrils, and ear holes. What about it, like, fingers and toes?
It would still only get you to 26.
And that's how many albums they have.
Yes.
No, for real, they have a lot of albums. And this band is kind of their own thing. We went over their last album, Working with God, and it was kind of a return to one of their forms. This band, I mean, if you go on the archives, because they are in the archives, they are often described as miscellaneous because you have various phases of this band where they're sludge metal at first or proto sludge metal. This band is, one of the biggest influences on sludge metal in general, or just like weird avant-garde rock or noise or some weird experimental album that involves them playing like non-instruments. I'm sure that one's out there. I don't own it because there's a lot of Melvins I don't own, and I own a lot of Melvins, which is weird. They're also known as like the kind of godfathers of grunge too. Like they were part of the whole Seattle movement along with Nirvana. Actually, they might have predated them a little bit too. This band's just strange. I got into them in high school when I was definitely partaking in the Devil's Lettuce a lot, and I heard Stoner Witch, and I was like, yeah, this is really cool.
Yep, I'm in the same boat. Got into them in high school, also when I was partaking in the Devil's Lettuce, much like I am now, but that's beside the point. Yeah, I got into them around Houdini and Stoner Witch, and oddly enough, kind of left the Melvins camp for a while and got into other things, and this would be the first Melvins record I've heard since that time, so, and I realize I'm missing out on a lot. A lot.
I kind of left the fold for a little bit, and I came back with A Senile Animal, and like that one, Nude with Boots, and The Bride Scream Murder were like a good run of like, really cool heavy albums. This is when they had Big Business in the band, and they were doing the 2-drummer thing. It's Melvins. They're always doing something kind of strange and kind of like just them. And after we went over Working with God and seeing that being as like kind of a return, I really wasn't sure what this next album was going to be because, well, I mean, life is like a Melvins album. You never know what you're going to get. We could have got some like weird avant-garde noisy stuff. We could have got something that was a return to the sludge. We could have got like just a flat-out rock album. We never know. But going into this, I mean, if I were to ask myself how Melvins this album is, it opens up with a almost 20-minute track. That's pretty Melvins.
Yeah, and it is in the land of, I don't know, noisy avant-garde, I guess. It's very spacey, creepy, stony. Happy 420, everybody. And the Melvins made sure, as they released this record as close to 420 as humanly possible, that you were gonna be on a trip. And you definitely go on a trip with this 20-minute song. 4 movements, each part being wacky.
Yeah, it's really all over the place. And, I mean, it has a really hilarious title, which, I mean, it's Melvins. They always have, like, strange titles. Pain Equals Funny. It sounds like they watch the same stuff I watch on YouTube.
Yep. Same stuff all of us watch on YouTube. I think that really, outside of Thralls of Metal, that's about all I watch.
Tornado videos,
roller coasters, fireworks, and Pain Equals Funny.
Oh, cat videos.
Oh yeah. Cat videos, yeah, puppy videos, and Pain Equals Funny.
But yeah, like this song it's trippy, it's spacey. It opens up with like a lot of layered feedback, and it's already just kind of like unsettling, but then this cool bass line comes in, and you get this like broken down drum pattern, and Dale Crover is, I think, a supremely underrated drummer. His like interesting drum patterns alone really just, I don't know, it kind of makes like Melvins unique, as well as like, you know, Buzzo's like weird vocals and constantly experimental noisy guitars. But this one takes a long time building, and I really like that. Like, it's a mood setter, and it gets kind of like cosmic and trippy. It's in no hurry to shift around. It's constantly kind of building the mood in this first movement. There's a big warm bass in it. The guitars are kind of crispy and sludgy. Like, there's just like a vibe to this first part, and it's very, I don't know, kind of welcoming.
Out of all the later unwelcoming parts that transpire, this is the most inviting, I guess you could say. Yeah. Actually, like, the second movement of this song reminds me a lot of a Primus jam. Not the song, but if you see Primus live, when they jam, it reminds me of that, because it goes on for fucking ever.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Yeah, they kind of take the bridge for a walk. The song kind of like opens the door and holds it open for you. Like, no, come on. It's fine. It's fine. It won't get weird. Psych. Yeah, because as the song keeps moving on, it gets, you know, a little bit stranger. Like the bad trip starts kicking in. Like, oh god, I got the sweats.
Yep.
Oh no, people are looking. They all know. There's a cool shift in the drum pattern to this very compressed, like, drum beat that is very familiar. Like, it sounds like Blur.
Yeah.
Song 2. Yeah. Or go further back, it sounds like ELO, Don't Bring Me Down. It's kind of got that sound, and it rocks this groove, and this bass line underneath is just absolutely fantastic. And there's a really cool, like, catchy vocal refrain on it, but as it goes on, like, it kind of starts off like, yeah, I could live in this groove forever. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
And then you start noticing the atmosphere slowly changing, like the background noises get weirder.
And it gets darker, and like you can feel it kind of dragging you down.
Don't Bring Me Down.
Yep, right. And then you're fully down the rabbit hole. And then Buzz, little by little, starts sounding a little bit more menacing, and then it shifts into the third part, which is acid rock.
Yeah. Honestly, I kind of compared it to like a weird Hawkwind sort of jam. Like, the first part kind of screams like, you know, like stoner jam band stuff, like Earthless.
Yeah.
This is way more of that, like, kind of space rock vibe. Like, there's lots of layered guitar parts. They're all doing like almost kind of like noodles and runs that kind of sound like a theremin.
Kind of, yeah.
And like, it's just instantly like kind of like creepy and unsettling. Like, you know, you swear if you glance out of the corner of your eye, like the shadows were moving and dancing and possibly flicking you off or something like that. It kind of breaks down to like a lot of like quieter elements, and you get this long, slow build back again. It gets noisier and spacier and weirder. The drums start picking up a bit. Like, that's that building tension, like something's getting closer. Like, that's the whole vibe. And it's definitely like a giant evil clown with a machete. And he's 100% high on bath salts.
Yeah, and just when you think the build is going to lead into something, it actually draws itself back. And then you get this really weird drum pattern, and it's almost like they have like an envelope filter on the drums. It sounds like he's playing underwater for part of it, and it just comes in waves and kind of warbles, and you're like, what the hell?
The guitars get like more noise rockish. Like, there's like a weird little crawling tag on them that's this interesting repeated melody. And like, the production on this album is almost as wild as the album itself, and we're only just talking about the first track so far.
Yeah. The production is strange in the sense that they like to take certain things and turn them down. Like, they'll turn down the drums, like in the last song, Smiler. It starts out very straightforward, actually. Probably one of the more straightforward, riffy songs on the album. But when they get to the verses, they turn down the drums and turn up the vocals and the guitar. Like, you can still hear the drums, but they're way, way far back in the mix.
Yeah, and I mean, that's also with like all the guitar layers on here. There's also extra percussion and synths, as done by Roy Mayorga, who we brought up recently again. He's been a busy lad. The synths on here are kind of sparing, but they definitely add to the spaciness. Like, again, it's like a lot of layers of guitars and effects and like looped noises. The song She's Got Weird Arms, I don't know if they ever explained like why they're weird. Like, she's got no bones in them, or they're tentacles, or she's got 18 fingers on each hand.
Right, or the arm like has like a bulge in it or something, or
blue armpit hair, and I don't know,
covered in mayflies or something.
Something like that.
I don't know. She got weird arms.
That song is just particularly strange, but how it starts off and how it works with the percussion, I think, is really interesting, because it's a lot of like sampled noises, like a squawk or like an electrical hiss, or like a little note of feedback, and how that is incorporated into the rhythm on the drum patterns. Like, as the drums are going, you have those at accent points.
Yep.
And that isn't even the weirdest part of this song, because this song is strange. It has this weird, like, funhouse, creepy melody on it, like a broken carousel.
Yeah.
But it shifts into the verses, and I swear to God, it sounds like Talking Heads. Like, it has like a weird, like, 80s new wave sort of vibe, like a very cool vocal refrain. It's really catchy. And then it just keeps alternating back and forth between these two points. And I feel like this song is like schizophrenic, but kind of schizophrenic in a good way, because the contrast between those two sections could not be any more different.
Well, it's like you're at the carnival, right? And they have a band playing, and like you step inside and you hear the band, and you're like, I don't know, I'm gonna go back outside. And you go back outside, and it's a weird carnival, and you're like, this is too weird. And you step back inside, and the band's playing. I think that could be it. Like you're stuck in a revolving door or something, and you just keep circling around. You go in to hear the band, you go outside. You go in to hear the band, you go outside.
I don't remember that Twilight Zone episode.
I don't either, but I do.
I was going to compare it to, like, you know, going to an old Showbiz Pizza and the animatronics are running down and, like, the skin starting to peel off. And those creepy moments are that band. And then the other band is Talking Heads, which is also weird. But at least pleasant.
But it's not all wacky. I mean, it is.
It is.
I digress. It is all wacky. There are still some heavier moments. Working the Ditch, Allergic to Food, even the Smiler, at least all have some heavier moments in them. Allergic to Food, when it's not on the spin cycle, at least, has some very riffy moments in it. Again, the Smiler, I think, is the most straightforward thing on the album, period.
Yeah, it's got like a flat-out metal riff to it. Allergic to Food, I kind of like Working the Ditch. It kind of works one riff and one particular beat for the most part, but they both have like totally different vibes. Allergic to Food is, you know, probably the fastest track on there.
Yeah.
It's more explosive and punky. I do think they layer the drums on there too, because the drums are just going nuts. Like every verse, you know, that comes in is like a big fill or a turnover. And this is the one where like Buzzo just kind of goes nuts on the leads. The leads in that song are just strange, and they're constant. Like anytime there's not a verse, they're kind of doing this weird little descending and ascending run, and it's, you know, kind of sliding around. It's like the town drunk meandering around the town.
Yeah.
Like just urinating on the occasional thing, and like, what do you mean I can't buy ice cream here? Like, sir, this is a Pizza Hut.
Working the Ditch, I want to say too, the riff that's in that song reminded me of a Dirtier Goodbye Windows from COC. It is very catchy in that nature, but that's mostly the whole album too. Like most of the riff work on here is all very hypnotic. They just play it over and over and over again. It drives that groove into your brain and makes it very catchy, at least in the parts, you know, before it goes into a drunken carnival with dead animatronics.
There's even like chanted vocal refrains that kind of get stuck in your head. Yeah, like it's just has this weird, like dark, unsettling vibe, but at the same time, it still feels very inviting. And like honestly, in comparison to like most of the Melvins albums I listen to, it's a good balance between like their heavier, earlier, sludgy sound. Like there's like some riffy callbacks to like Bluey Porch Treatments and Ozma on here for sure. But it's also got a lot of the weird experimentation, and again, the frequent layering, the weird vocal harmonies, but again, Buzzo just knows how to make them like kind of catchy. It's like they're kind of embracing all the aspects of their sound over the course of like 30 albums and kind of whirling most of them together to kind of make this interesting composite of Melvin's strangeness. And I would say, like, for the most part, it really works. There are some songs where I feel like the repetition gets to be a little bit much. Like Working the Ditch and Allergic to Food, while I like them, you kind of like want them to do something else. But I don't know, they're kind of strangely charming in terms of just how quirky they are.
Well, yeah, they work in something very bizarre on every song to make it catch the ear. You're like, what the fuck is happening? And that's what I like.
And at times, the production can be a bit much in terms of the constant phasing in and phasing out. It really works on Pain Equals Funny because there's a lot of like open space in that one. Like that's got like room for these really wild transitions. You got big swells of noise and feedback and synths and such. And then everything kind of quieting down to one moment and then building back up. Some of these, like, there's just so much going on.
Yeah.
Like, Allergic to Food, like, again, there's multiple drum tracks on that one for sure. Layered guitars, it's just very busy, even though vocals are layered on there. It's just a dense, compact song. And it kind of doesn't go anywhere, but where it's already at is pretty interesting.
Right?
So, I mean, I don't think any of this is really bad, but at the same time, like, there is a lot of repetition that didn't necessarily jive with me, but I mean, for the most part, I really like this one. Actually, I like it more than the last one, and I'm hoping this is the beginning of like another era of the band where they kind of just embrace being both heavy and weird and just kind of mesh it up again and give us some like stone cold bangers, because I think this is a good start. And honestly, I'm going to give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. Pain Equals Funny might be one of the coolest 19 minutes of Melvins I have heard here recently. I absolutely love this song. When it hits that Don't Bring Me Down groove, like that is just flat out catchy. And I love the transitions in that one. Smiler has an absolutely catchy riff on it, and it delivers on all the weirdness. Again, the production is just wall to wall madness, but for the most part, it really does work on here. And yeah, like this is a side of the Melvins that, you know, has been kind of largely absent, at least, you know, up until they put out Working with God, which I feel like that one was kind of like testing the heavy waters once again. This one feels more confident about just being strange and weird and heavy at the same time. Pretty much if you're a big fan of Melvins, like maybe kind of the earlier era, and like again that run from Senile Animal to the Bride Scream Murder, and maybe Stag, but I don't know, like heavier. I don't know. It's the Melvins. Like it's really hard to describe. Like if you like the Melvins, then you will probably like this, unless you like some weird offshoot Melvins album that no one likes, because those definitely exist. I own a copy of Freak Puke. I don't like that album. But yeah, this is just a fun, weird, zany, strange album, and literally like the perfect thing to be released on 420 next to High on Fire's new album.
Yeah, no shit.
So yeah, check this one out.
Yeah, I'm going to give this 4 stars as well. I really dug it. I had a great time listening to it. I listened to it at work today while I was taking out the trash. That pretty much just cemented it for me. I like weird, wacky, avant-garde things, and this is definitely that. Pain Equals Funny is grossly entertaining on all 4 fronts. Again, probably the most entertaining 19 minutes and 8 seconds I'm going to have this year, to be honest. She's Got Weird Arms is a wonderfully strange song. The Smiler and its straightforwardness, it's an all-encompassing Melvins experience, and that's really what you should be after 30 albums into the game. Granted, I haven't listened to the Melvins in, God, like 30 years, but that doesn't really matter, because it's still everything I remember about their weirdness and their strangeness, just with some more other weird things. I know I keep saying weird, but listen to this record. You're going to figure that out.
Yeah, this is like taking the whole sheet instead of just one hit.
Happy 420, you guys. I really dug this album. I'm not going to continue to rant and rave about it. I just want you to listen to it for yourself. It is grossly entertaining. Yeah, if you're a Melvins fan, you're probably still going to be a Melvins fan. If you like other things like Primus and The Sword and COC and Duran Duran and Mr. Bungle and Talking Heads, you're going to find little bits and pieces of that in here too. But yeah, I would definitely recommend checking it out.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below to thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is there. It is also on our channel up in the bottom right-hand corner on our banner. But Thralls Metal is where you go to get Thralls Metal stuff. We have shirts. We have old ones that are discounted. We have new ones that are not discounted. And we even have hats too, so if you're looking for any of that stuff, click the link down below.
And tons of stuff going on at Thralls of Metal, album reviews, discography rankings, states of metal, is it metal, is it not metal, bunch of metal things, metal, because we are Thralls of Metal. And without you guys, we would still be Thralls of Metal, we'd just be really boring and probably lost in an algorithm somewhere and nobody would watch and, that would be that.
We are
But luckily, you guys seem to like us and we like that you like us and we appreciate that, so thank you.
Yeah, you guys absolutely rule. Again, a ton of content coming your way. And lots of fun stuff coming up in the future for sure. So one more big thank you because you guys are awesome. And we will catch you later.